going on, everyone? A big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta. As you can see, I'm here for you guys with the deck profile on Spike Brothers Standard. So I've just come back from regionals and I thought it was time for you to see the deck build that I've come up with and tested a lot to be able to play against the top decks in this format. So let's say Oracle Tank, Tachikaze, Grand Blue, Kaigiro, especially those 4 decks, and when we gain the format of Shadow Ball and Murokumo and all the other stuff, then the deck definitely will change. I also tested this deck against the Pale Moon, Murokumo and Shadow Ball matchup as well, Dark Regulars too. So the deck is doing great, and the thing is, I didn't do great in regionals, wasn't able to get to the top 8. It was because of my own performance. I didn't do great in that tournament and it was not up to the deck. The deck was really good, and that's why I wanted to show you this deck profile, because I think that this is the best deck build for standard for Spike Brothers. For me, let's say, I don't know what's for you guys, but this is definitely the best deck build that I've come up with, and it plays amazing. The deck was really good. Again, this time it's on me. It was my fault that I didn't do great. I wasn't there with my head and I made a lot of mistakes, but I shouldn't do that. And I think that this deck deserves better. So let's just go through the deck, and after that I will explain some of my choices. So let's start with the grade 3. So playing 4 copies of Siegfried and 4 copies of Juggernaut Maximum. I will first go through the deck and after that I will explain my choices. So let's just put them right here for you guys to see. After that, for the grade 2 lineup, we're playing 4 copies of Spike Bouncer, followed up by 4 copies of Braki, then 3 copies of Panther, and then 2 copies of Vanguard. For the grade 1 lineup, we're playing 4 Gyre Slinger, 4 Wonder Boy, and then of course 4 copies of Commander Gary Cannon. And then when we go to the trigger lineup, we start with 5 draws. Yeah, this is something that I played and I didn't really like a lot. I like the 8 crit build because sometimes you do get this draw when you want to do your opponent your last damage. The thing that you do with Siegfried, when they are on 4 damage, you attack first with the rear guard, you hit them up to 5, or you hit a rear guard, and then when you drive check, you want to drive check at least 1 crit to put everything on the other column, which is already the strongest, and that's when you will just destroy your opponent because of that crit. If you get the draw, then they could just take the damage and it would be on 5 damage, and that would put you in a really bad situation because they have to guard everything anyway. But I have an agreement with Linux right here. Wherever he comes in the damage check, it's alright. If I draw him, it's alright. But he doesn't have to get in the drive check. That's our only agreement. If he honored that agreement, then it's alright. If he missed that agreement once, if he comes in the drive check in a bad situation, then he's out and he knows it. So that's why he's still in here, because he did great. Then playing 4 heals, and then of course the 7 crits. For the starter, of course, it's Mega Trainer, what else? So let's just jump into every card, and I will explain to you also the cards that I play and the cards that I don't play, and why I play them and why I don't. Right, so let's explain the cards that I play and I don't play. Of course, you need to play force markers. I like to play a combination of the black ones and the Siegfried ones. Siegfried's on the Vanguard and the black one on the rear guard. And if I give the other rear guard circle the power, then use the white one. It really doesn't matter which force markers you use. You could also use the sleeves that you like on them. It could also be different sleeves. I use the Crushing the Meta sleeves mostly in tournaments, and the sleeves that give away the deck in just friendly fights, as you can see right here, with the force marker on his hand and the Crushing the Meta logo right here. Really nice design, and I like playing those in friendly matches, of course. So for the grade 3s, let's start with those. Of course, you have your 4 Juggernaut Maximum and your General Siegfrieds. These 2 works amazingly together. The only other grade 3 that you could run here is the Unite attacker. The thing with this card is, it is really not good as a first right target, and it is not a finisher. I've played this in here and it is really good as a saver versus Mega Colony and versus Kagero. He could work great against those, and sometimes cleanse that lets you run out of cards, like sometimes Tachikaze if you have to guard multiple times if they attack and hit your rear guard. But the thing with the Unite attacker is that when you use his skill, which could only be used once, after that he does nothing, and that's the problem with him. You cannot fill your soul that fast anymore, and again he is just weak after that, and that's the problem with him. Is the thing is with the Juggernaut, he is really good as a rear guard and as a Vanguard, because when you ride him as a Vanguard, you can give the force marker to the rear guard and he could still hit for high numbers. And after that, you keep your Juggernauts into your hand, you keep your Siegfrieds into your hand, so you ride from the Juggernaut to the other, or you ride to Siegfried whenever you get him. So that's a good thing about Juggernaut. Also, when you go to Siegfried, okay, you do keep the pressure, but your opponent would not take the damage early game, because they don't want to see the hit pressure from him. But with Juggernaut, they must always take that attack. Okay, if they take that attack and you get a crit or two, they're already on like 4 or 5 damage, so that's good enough. And that's also the reason why Juggernaut is good. And when you finally be able to go to Siegfried, you will power up your rear guards for a crazy amount of numbers that your opponent would have to guard them anyway. So it's a very good combination of the two. The only thing that I'm missing for Spike right now is the killer finisher. So let's say that you have your Siegfried, which is a good first right target, the perfect right target. I mean, in my opinion, this is the best grade 3 in the game right now, of course, because I'm a Spike player, but also because he's good first, right, third, 5th, 7th right target. He's really good. He abuses your Count Blast, he has the hit pressure, he does everything that Spikes need. The only problem is that you do still need a killer finisher, let's say like a Waterfall. Card that your opponent can't guard or get an extra crits or just kills. His, let's say, skill, the hit pressure that he creates is good, but your opponent would never let him hit, especially if they're playing Protect. And that's why Spikes sometimes have a bad matchup against Protect clans, especially Granblue or Cold Think Tank, which me personally could still deal with those if playing smarts. But still, you still need that kind of a finisher like Waterfall that, let's say, has sometimes the ability that your opponent cannot perfect guard or just get amount of power like crazy by himself. Just a Vanguard that by himself could finish the game and not needs rear guards, which Spikes always need rear guards. So it's just a Jester. I don't think that Bushi will do anything with, like, let's say, that kind of a card, because it's not Spikes. But if we get that, then this deck is definitely will become stronger. It's really strong right now, but it could even become stronger. For the grade 2s, you start with Spike Bouncer. It is the card that gives you a lot of advantage in the Kagero and the Shadow Paladin matchup, especially those two. This card lets you rush, and he still get the 10k that he has, which is good. Your best right target by far, because almost always you get the Counter Blast, and he just gives you the opportunity to rush for nothing. And that's why he's really good. It's just simple, but he gives you an easy +1. Could even be a +2 if you use his ability to counter +1 and goes to the soul and you draw. But in the most situations, you just use his first ability, you leave him there, you intercept with him. Or if you have 3 counter blasts, you could use the combo that you do with him and Siegfried, like call him, use his ability, then Siegfried on him, call him back, and then use his skill again. So that's when you get a +2 out of a 3 counter blasts and 2 rear guards extra, and 1 rear guard with, let's say, 10k extra power, and Siegfried will get the 10k extra power as well. The only thing is you don't get the opportunity to counter charge in this deck, because I've taken all of those out, which I'll show you later which cards that you could put in here for the counter charge ability. Then we get 4 copies of Bracky. Bracky is a solid grade 2 in here, especially if you get him early game. He could still power up himself, and that's why he is in here. The reason why I play 4 Brackies and only 3 Panthers is Panther, you need multiple copies of him because you could use the ability to see freed on him, but most of the time Bracky could call himself, which means that you definitely need more copies of him in here. Remember guys, this is standard, not premium. In premium, it's really up to you what to use. I would still go with Bracky, but if you want to use the stand trigger Mega Instructor with the Panther, the combo that you do with the 2 of them to give him more power, I could understand that as well. The last grade 2 that I played in here, and that's the addition to the deck that some people would say that it's not a defensive deck, why would you play this? And why don't you play this card? Because it is an easier 10k which you get in the early game. Well, it's for me, first of all, I like the art more. Second of all, I don't mind the 9k because most of the time you hit for 17 with the 8k booster and you still get the protect and excel cleanse. This falls short against force cleanse, but let's say against Kagero, you will not put him out there because you want him in your hand as an extra card for autofall. But this card does give you the defensive option to still play against Oracle Tank and go, let's say, take the tier, the turn that they do with Deer, and still play onwards. That's the thing about this card. I like it. It does give the deck more option to guard. And also, you play a lot of grade 2s. Because of this, you get the opportunity to rush your opponent and also to defense. And most people just still get surprised what this card does. For the grade 1 options, of course, I run 4 copies of Gyre Slinger, again 4 copies of Wonder Boy, and 4 copies of the cards that gives this deck a lot of consistency, which is Commander Gyre Cannon. Commander Gyre Cannon is a card that every Spike Brother player appreciates. It gives the early hit pressure. It can go behind your Vanguard on the first turn when you attack, and they would be like, okay, I could take the damage to use the Counter Blast for my stuff like with Grand Blue, with Kagero, with Spikes, or I would just have to guard this attack so they don't get the skill of Gyre Cannon. Also, sometimes you have like multiple Wonder Boys in your hand. You want to put them back to your deck, multiple Juggernauts, multiple Brackies, multiple cards that you want to have in your deck, and that's the good thing about him. He doesn't only draw you cards, he puts cards from your hand back to the deck that you want them in your deck, and in the bottom of your deck. So that's the good thing. When you come to the Wonder Boy, of course, it's the card that put the triggers back to your deck, which is good, but at the same time, he recycles himself, let's say like against Mega Colony, that does a lot. The 5k power is good, but just the ability to put also the cards that you need back to your deck to call them back is also good. So not only triggers, but sometimes the Brackies, the Juggernauts, everything that you need to call back. And then we go to Gyre Slinger. Gyre Slinger is a card that a lot of you guys don't appreciate. It's a card that does give you a lot of advantage because sometimes your field sucks, and he is the only card with General Seafried that doesn't cost you Counter Blast to make your field looks better. So you can use the skill of General Seafried on him and then call something to the field with his ability, give it an extra 5k, and from that moment on you could still put that card into your soul again with General Seafried to call more stuff. So the thing is with Gyre Slinger is he gives a little bit of power to the field, but he makes your hand better by putting cards from your hand into the soul that you don't need, and then of course call units to the field. Sometimes your main target that you want to call is Spike Bouncer, because with Spike Bouncer you can still call more stuff to the field. Sometimes you want a Juggernaut, sometimes you want a Bracky, sometimes you just want the hit pressure, and sometimes you have really bad hand or more of a defensive hand and you just want to call stuff. And that's the good thing about Gyre Slinger. I love this card and I like the design of it. It reminds me more of the Gyre, like with Rising Nova, especially Rising Nova, as it was our main Vanguard before Star. Still a lot of people like to play Rising Nova, but this card is amazing and I like it. Just the extra 5k, one card from your hand to the soul search is really good. And this card also does wonders in premium, but for standard, it's good as well. And then of course for the trigger lineup, 7 crits on 5 draws, something that I didn't want to play, but I just wanted to give it a chance, I think, and it works alright. I think that it's not really my playstyle. I'd like to play more on draws or on crits, but this time I had to choose, and I made a deal with Linux right here, and he honors our deal till now, so I'm okay with it. And also, the thing with Linux is it's just a 5k, which is sometimes easy to just guard with, or discard with a PG, or just put into your soul with the Gyre Slinger, and you don't feel bad. That's also a good thing about him, is, or just G assist or assist and just banish it from your hand. So it's just a good card in general to have in here, but most situations you really need the extra crit, especially in this deck, in the standard deck. And that's because you make a very strong column and a weaker column. Let's say you attack with the weaker column first. If your opponent wants to take the damage, it's okay. If they want to guard it, perfect, because you don't want to get, you want them to get triggers. Then you attack with your Vanguard, and your Vanguard has the hit ability, and that's when they have to PG this one. And also, if you get crits, you give it on the strong column, and that's the column that will hit them hard. And also, that's the reason that you want to play the 8 crits, because you want to drive check at least a crit to give that to the Vanguard. But in the damage check, of course, you want to get the draw trigger. And that's why I made a deal with Linux. And then, of course, we play 4 heals. There is no reason to play 8 on 8, 8 crit, 8 draw. If this was an Excel clan, that maybe I would take out the heal. But in a format like this, the heal does good, especially if you go to late game against the protect clans. This heal does help you out as a guard, and also does help you out to just heal. And sometimes you will put a lot of heals back with your Wonder Boy if you are at more damage. If you are at less damage, you put the draws or the crits. It's really up to you, but most situations you put triggers back to your deck to just make your opponent cry. And for the starter, Mega Trainer. Again, I've talked about these starters and they are really good. They do help you out to make a better early game. And this situation is really fun that we got Mega Trainer as well, because it is, let's say, 90% your starters in Spike Brothers, it's Mega Trainer if it's the new one or the old one. Of course, we have seen also Mega Analyzer make an impact on some decks for Spike Brothers, which is really good. But in the most situations, we will see this Mega Trainer or the old Mega Trainer. The other cards that I don't play, I've already shown Unite Attacker and I've shown the 10k on 10. Both are good, depend if you want to play this as an extra grade 3 in here. I admire your choice, I think it's a good choice, not bad. Other cards that you could play also in here is the Counter Charger. She is alright. If she draws your card, then I would play her, but she doesn't. That's why she's out. Funky Bazooka, I love the arts. I admire some of you guys want to play him or play, let's say, 2 copies of him. Me, I maybe give the new promo a chance, but Funky Bazooka is out for now. The beer, well, it's a good card and I like the art as well, but I don't think that this card is better than the grade 2 that I have in here that get an extra guard. Also, in the most situations, you play so much grade 2s, you have good attackers, you don't really need him. And otherwise, your Gyre Slinger could still gives you a better Vanguard than him, and that's why they are out. Zachary is one of the cards that I wanted to play, but I gave him a chance and he didn't do great. And that's because the only card that you really want to call with him is Panther. And with Panther, you could attack, give him the 15k, it goes to the soul. So to play this in spikes, in standard, is not good right now. But it will become better whenever we get the chance to call in the battle phase. Until then, this card is not yet as good as it should be. Other cards, of course, that you could play in here. You could add one more copy of him if you want to. The same goes with him. If you want to play more, you can play more. And then we come to the conclusion. The last one is the triggers. You want to play 6 on 6, you want to play 8 on 4. It really depends on your playstyle. I like now the 7 on 5, which is a lot of people are playing it. I didn't want to play it at the start because, as I said, a lot of people are playing it and I like to get the extra crit. But at the same time, I tested it and it is, in my opinion, the best way to go in this format. When we get less Protect Cleanse, less Oracle Think Tank, I think that this card will become the last crit. Or we will magically gain front triggers, which will be funny. But yeah, let's not talk about that. It's another topic for another video. So thanks guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this deck profile. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. And again, I would like to say it, I'm sorry to every Spike Brother player, because I could have taken this deck towards with Spike Brother Standard, but it was of my own bad decisions. I couldn't do that. And I would like to have another chance, and if I got the chance, I would definitely take it to the top of the top. So thanks for watching guys, until next time.